Daniel Whitmore had built his empire from nothing, but nothing in his powerful, carefully controlled life prepared him for the moment he lay motionless on his own bedroom floor, pretending to be unconscious, while the one person he trusted the least whispered something that shattered his world. It all began on a stormy Tuesday evening in the Whitmore mansion. Daniel, a self-made millionaire in his early 40s, was known for his sharp mind and even sharper instincts. After losing his wife, Rebecca, 3 years earlier to cancer, he had become distant, guarded, and suspicious of everyone around him. His only comfort was his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, whose fragile health required constant attention. To help care for Lily, he had hired a quiet young maid named Grace Mitchell. Grace was different from the other staff. She was gentle with Lily, patient during her emotional outbursts, and always stayed late without complaint. Yet Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Important documents had gone missing from his office. His safe had once been slightly ajar, and twice he had caught Grace leaving his study when she had no reason to be there. Instead of confronting her directly, Daniel decided to test her. That evening he staged a fall in his study. He knocked over a chair, scattered papers across the floor, and lay still beside his desk, slowing his breathing, waiting. Within minutes, he heard hurried footsteps. Grace's voice echoed through the hallway, trembling. "Mr. Whitmore, sir." She rushed in. He could hear her sharp inhale when she saw him on the floor. "Oh my God, Daniel." He felt her kneel beside him. For a moment there was silence, heavy, suffocating silence. Then came the words that made his heart pound so hard he feared she would hear it. "I never wanted it to happen like this," Grace whispered, her voice breaking. "I only took the documents because I needed proof that you were innocent." Daniel's mind raced. Innocent of what? Grace's voice continued, barely audible over the thunder outside. "They're trying to frame you. Michael is behind it. He's been forging financial transfers and planning to report you for fraud. I found the transactions last week when I was cleaning your office. I didn't know how to tell you." Michael, Daniel's own business partner. The man he had trusted for over a decade. Grace began sobbing softly. "I was going to give everything back tonight, I swear. I just needed copies. I didn't steal from you, Daniel. I was trying to protect you." Daniel felt a wave of shock, followed by guilt. He had spent weeks suspecting her, watching her every move, assuming the worst. Meanwhile, she had been trying to save him. But before he could reveal himself, something else happened. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps. Michael's voice drifted from the hallway. "Grace, are you in there?" Grace froze. Daniel remained still, forcing himself not to react. Michael entered the study. "What happened?" he asked, but there was no concern in his tone. I just found him like this," Grace stammered. Michael walked closer. Daniel felt his shadow looming overhead. "Well," Michael said quietly, "this simplifies things." Daniel's blood ran cold. Michael knelt down, his voice dropping to a whisper meant only for Grace. "You should have kept your mouth shut. I warned you. Once the audit is complete, Daniel would have taken the fall. Now, maybe we just speed things up." Grace gasped. "You said no one would get hurt." Michael chuckled softly. "You're too naive." In that instant, Daniel understood everything. The missing documents, the suspicious transfers. Michael had orchestrated it all, and Grace had stumbled onto the truth. Michael stood up. "I'll call the ambulance," he said casually, "but who knows how long it'll take in this weather." That was enough. Daniel's eyes snapped open. "I don't think we need to wait." Michael staggered backward, his face draining of color. "Daniel." "I heard everything." The room erupted into chaos. Michael tried to flee, but security guards, already alerted earlier by Daniel as part of his test, blocked the doorway. Daniel had suspected someone was betraying him. He just hadn't known who. Grace stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. Police arrived within minutes. Faced with recorded evidence from the study's security system, installed secretly by Daniel weeks earlier, Michael's scheme unraveled. He had embezzled millions and manipulated accounts to pin the blame on Daniel during the upcoming audit. As Michael was led away in handcuffs, he shot Grace a venomous glare, but she didn't look at him. Her eyes were fixed on Daniel. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I should have told you sooner." Daniel looked at her, not as an employee, not as a suspect, but as someone who had risked everything for him. "No," he said quietly, "I should be the one apologizing." The following days were a whirlwind of legal meetings and public statements. News outlets praised Daniel for uncovering corporate fraud. His company's reputation was restored, but the biggest change happened inside the mansion. Daniel invited Grace to sit with him and Lily in the garden one afternoon. Lily, unaware of the chaos that had unfolded, laughed as butterflies danced around her. "You stayed," Daniel said to Grace, "even when you knew it was dangerous." She gave a small smile. "You gave me a job when I had nowhere else to go. After my father passed away, we lost everything. I know what it feels like to watch someone destroy your life from the inside." Daniel had never asked about her past. He had been too busy guarding his own wounds. That was one of the biggest challenges he faced, not business rivals, not betrayal, but his own hardened heart. Losing Rebecca had built walls around him. He trusted contracts more than people, cameras more than conversations, silence more than vulnerability. Grace had faced her own challenge, standing up against a powerful man like Michael, knowing he could ruin her career, knowing no one might believe her. Yet she chose courage. Weeks later, Daniel made a life-changing decision. He offered Grace a permanent role, not just as Lily's caregiver, but as part of his foundation, helping families who had been victims of corporate fraud. "You have integrity," he told her. "That's worth more than any degree." Grace accepted, tears shining in her eyes. Slowly, the mansion felt warmer. Laughter returned. Daniel began attending Lily's school events again. He started trusting his staff. He listened more. He even allowed himself to talk about Rebecca without shutting down. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Daniel stood by the window of his study, the same room where everything had nearly fallen apart. Grace entered quietly. "You okay?" He nodded. "I spent years thinking money could protect me from everything, but it couldn't protect me from betrayal, and it almost blinded me to loyalty." Grace smiled gently. "Sometimes we have to lose our balance to find our truth." Daniel looked at her thoughtfully. "I pretended to be unconscious that night to test you, but I think I was the one who was truly asleep." "Asleep?" she asked. "Asleep to the goodness around me." Months passed. The scandal faded. The foundation grew. Lily's health improved with new treatment Daniel funded through his company's research grants. Trust, once broken, had slowly been rebuilt, not through fear but through honesty. And Daniel learned something no business deal had ever taught him. The greatest wealth is not measured in millions, but in the people who stand beside you when everything falls apart. The night he pretended to be unconscious, he expected to uncover betrayal. Instead, he uncovered loyalty, courage, and a second chance at becoming not just a better businessman, but a better man. Because sometimes, the most shocking truths aren't the ones that destroy you. They're the ones that wake you up.